Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English, and at present, I have been posted at Government College, Kuta, in the Jhanjanu district. In the series of video lecture which is being prepared by me, today's lecture is meant for the students of Class BA Part First, Subject English Literature, Paper First. And in this video, we will discuss about some short questions based on Rabindranath Tagore's famous poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear. Before coming to the question, let us discuss something about the poet and the poem. First of all, poet. As you know, Rabindranath Tagore was born in 1861 and died in 1941. He was a Bengali poet, writer, composer, philosopher, and painter. From his lifespan, that is from 1861 to 1941, it is clear that he lived in India when India was not independent. It was struggling to get independence. As a poet, as an artist, our poet Rabindranath Tagore has done many things for the India and also for Bengal. He reshaped Bengali literature and music as well as Indian art with contextual modernism in the late 19th and early 20th century. He wrote stories, novels, plays, and poems. In a word, he was a versatile genius. Means he displayed his talent in various fields and he was very successful. Rabindranath Tagore is a name in India. He wrote some short poems in the form of prayer to God in Bengali. He met W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats suggested him to translate them into English. At his suggestion, Rabindranath Tagore translated those prayers into English and published them in the form of a book entitled Gitanjali, or the anthology was entitled Gitanjali. Its foreword was written by W.B. Yeats, the famous Irish poet. For his achievement, Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his Gitanjali. He was the first Indian and also the first of the Asian who received that prize, that is Nobel Prize for Literature. At present, if we look at the achievement of Rabindranath Tagore, we find that he occupies an honorable place in the hearts of Indians. He is a poet of Indian culture and national resurgence, renewal. As a poet, Tagore's vision is delicate and yet realistic. His poetry touches mind and heart of the reader. He writes in such a way that reader is highly impressed, or his poems cast an indelible impression on the mind of the reader. The poem entitled Heaven of Freedom is one of the most popular poems of Rabindranath Tagore. The poem has been entitled Heaven of Freedom is also entitled Where the Mind is Without Fear in some of the anthologies. The anthology which is entitled Strings of Gold, which is prescribed in our syllabus, this poem is entitled Heaven of Freedom. This poem is included as number 35 in Gitanjali, which is a collection of poems. That is, the Gitanjali, for which Rabindranath Tagore got Nobel Prize, is a collection of 108 poems, and this is number 35th. Gitanjali means songs offering, and it has become an immortal classic of literature. And with this, the poem is also a part of the immortal classic literature. The present poem is a prayer for an ideal India. In this poem, the poet prays to God that India, his country, his motherland, should become free in an atmosphere of fearlessness and perfection. People should be free from narrow consideration of religions, caste, and language, area, etc. That is, people should be broad-minded and they should be away from narrow domestic walls. This is the theme of the poem, and poem is a prayer. The poet prays to God that his country should be such a place where people are fearless and also everything is available in its perfection. Now let us come to the question. Question number 1. What do expression mind is without fear and head is held high mean? So answer is, the poet says that no countryman of his, no his um, no Indian, should live in fear on his mind at all times, at any times. Everybody should be free and fearless. There should not be any trace of fear of any kind in the mind of his countrymen in free India. Instead, they should hold their head high, fearlessly, with confidence, with self-respect, and have confidence in themselves. Second question, what is the impact when knowledge is not free? Knowledge here means education. In the past in India, education was not given to one and all. It was given to limited members of the society. That is why the question arises, what is the impact of it? So when knowledge is not free, people who are poor, downtrodden, or weaker section of the society will not get right education and will become a thief or a labor and will decrease human capital and economy of India. Number C. What breaks the world into fragments? The narrow domestic walls like caste system, social classes, religion, color, creed, and so on breaks the world into pieces. I mean, these are the, say, basis on which if human beings believe, they will divide themselves or form groups, and that is harmful for mankind. Another question is, what does the line where words come out from the depth of truth mean? The poet wants his countrymen to be truthful and sincere. Means they should be honest. They should not tell lies or be hypocrites. They should speak what they feel. They should be guided by clear thinking in any matter. Whatever, they should have clarity of thought and action. Another question, what has the poet used? Why has the poet used the word tireless to describe striving? The phrase tireless striving is used by the poet to urge his countrymen to break free from sloth, from laziness. Means people should not be lazy and struggle hard. People should struggle hard constantly, continuously to achieve perfection in whatever they choose to do and thus make their country a free nation. What has the poet compared reason and dead habit with? The poet has used two phrases, dead habit and reason. The poet has compared reason to a clear stream that flows naturally and does not contain any other things. It is a clarity, clear water only. There is no mix up in it. It's a clear thinking, you can see. And dead habit to a dry desert. Dead habit means superstitions and narrow-mindedness, which cause or which behave or act as like dry desert, just as desert does not allow to develop. In the same way, dead habits are also harmful for us. Now, another question. What does the poet, whom does the poet address as thee and my father? The poet is addressing to God as thee or my father. It is obvious. Now, another question. According to the poet, what must be done for achieving ever widening thought and action? Ever widening thought and action means we should not be narrow or shallow in our mentality. We should always think of progress, going forward, etc. People should have a broad mind, means our outlook should be broad minded and a broad heart. They should enrich their thinking day by day. Another question is, describe the poet's version of heaven of freedom. By heaven of freedom, the poet means that his country will be a place where one will truly enjoy social, cultural, and psychological independence and unity. There will not be, people will not be divided into fragments. That will be his wish. Next question, so short question, 4 marks question you can say. Question is, bring out the significance of the title of the poem. The title is, as you know, Where the Mind is Without Fear. Where the Mind is Without Fear, the title of the Tagore's poem is merely the first line of the poem. This is the first line of the poem. It refers to a place where people would be fearless. A heaven of freedom that the poet dreams of. Which will be like heaven. Tagore prays to God to lift his countrymen to such a place where people would not only be fearless but also knowledgeable, hardworking, and truthful, etc. Means the poet prays that the member of his country, independent country, should be hardworking, fearless, truthful, and always thinking of the good of the society. And probably fearlessness was the first condition that came to Tagore's mind while writing about his heaven of freedom. So the title of the poem very well expresses what the poet wishes for, making it relevant and apt. Another is, according to the poet, how should knowledge be? According to the poet, the knowledge should be free. Knowledge here means education. That should not be limited to only particular section of the society, but it should be free, available for all, which means every person has knowledge about worldly matters. No member of the society should be disallowed, means stopped, or we can say to get education. All should be given education. Poet says that the country can only develop if people living there possess knowledge. Knowledge keeps people united, not dividing them on the basis of caste and creed. Means if they will get knowledge, they will not be divided into fragments by shallowness of their mentality, such as based on caste, creed, area, religion, language, etc. etc. Another question is, what kind of domestic wall is the poet speaking about? Domestic wall. Here the poet has also used the narrow domestic wall. Narrow domestic walls are the barriers of class, caste, creed, color, religion, and other elements that divide people from one another. In every country, there are some superstitious belief, some kind of belief which are very harmful to the country as a whole. These beliefs divide the society on the basis of caste, class, creed, color, religion, and other elements. So these have been termed by the poet as domestic wars. In most cases, those are baseless superstitious beliefs and good for nothing. These domestic vows are not good for the happy or healthy society or a country. According to the poet, what is dead habit? According to the poet, dead habit refers to mindless practicing of obsolete customs and tradition. Obsolete which are no longer in use. Old beliefs, superstitions, and a narrow-minded attitude. This habit corrodes, destroys, damages the mind and renders it useless, means make it useless. If we believe in dead habits, it will be harmful for the person as well as for his country. So the poet wants that they should not be given any importance. Thank you very much.